Welcome back to another great episode of the Vision Lab podcast in partnership with Nexum Creative. I'm your host, Ryan Cuffey, alongside my co-host, Mr. Ryan Mosley. The Vision Lab is the official growth mindset podcast for all visionaries worldwide and specifically for the cigar community at large. We focus on growth and exploring the developmental path of people's visions and dreams and how those dreams come to reality. It's all about tapping into and becoming the best versions of ourselves through self-discovery, self-examination, and self-actualization. Hey, yo, Mo, who do we have on the show today?
Cuff, today's guest is a native of Garland, Texas. He is a retired basketball player, having played overseas in countries like the Philippines, Puerto Rico, Sweden, Poland, and Serbia. He is now a network marketing specialist, and he also runs his own basketball skills training business. Please welcome Jay Warren to the Vision Lab podcast.
What up?
What's going on, people? How y'all doing?
Man, grateful.
Appreciate you sitting down with us, sir.
For sure.
Man, appreciate you guys having me on.
The power of social media, Cuff.
I'm telling you.
Bringing us kings together.
Right? Blessings on blessings. Hey, before we get started, gents, I want to give a big shout out to Cigar Palace out here in Allen, Texas. Folks, if you're on the north side of town, make sure you stop by and support this cigar lounge. It is absolutely fantastic. I mean, leather couches, beautiful white walls, gorgeous humidor. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can see it behind us. This is an absolute treat. Shout out to you, Jay, for finding this, man. This is a gem for sure.
Well, yeah. Shout out to Yvette for letting us hooking it up for us because.
Thank you, Yvette. We appreciate you.
No doubt. So let's just jump on into it. You spent time overseas playing basketball.
Yes, I did.
I'm sure it taught you a lot.
Absolutely.
And as you know, this is a growth mindset podcast. So when you reflect back on that time, what were some of the greatest lessons or skills in terms of mental skills that you learned coming out of overseas ball?
So I would say, reflecting back, one of the things is, I think overseas helped me grow because I remember when I was going to high school here, I was like, man, I don't want to go to college in Texas because there's a closed mindset, especially, shout out to Garland, but, a lot of my Garland people, they know, like, it's just, there's a closed mindset and they think that life is a certain way.
Sure.
And so when you start going overseas and you start seeing, you're connected in humanity, however, it's just a different type of culture, then it just opens to your mind that, quote unquote, what is right and what is wrong.
Now that's interesting that you say that. Like you're thinking like this on this plane, on this path at such a young age. Like you had the foresight to say,
how old were you at this point?
Well, so I started when I was I started traveling overseas when I was probably like about 23, 24. And it's when I started coming back to the States is when the shit started connecting.
Right.
So I just knew when I was young, I would say probably a teenager, I just knew that's when I didn't want to go to college in Texas because of the mindset, shout out Texas. But I just didn't want to go to school here because I just seen how.
You're looking to grow.
Yeah, I was just looking to grow and I just seen how there's a lot of people who are just set in the ways here. And I really saw that when I started going overseas and coming back, how I was growing and people were the same. People in high school, people, that went to college, whether it was junior college or college for a year, they were just the same. So that's when I was like, oh shit,
Well, it's interesting that you say that because, I played ball, we all played ball, and I went off to school. And one of the reasons why I decided to go to Vanderbilt in particular was because I wanted to, as a young man, right? Like I wanted to see how I would fare in the real world.
Yeah.
Mom and dad aren't there. There's no safety net. It's just you left to your own devices, figuring things out. Now, I was blessed and fortunate to come from a two-parent household. Both parents are still actively involved. Shout out to my mom and dad and all the lessons and life lessons that they've taught me. But I know that at 17 years old, I knew I needed to grow. Similar to you, I wanted to grow. I wanted to see what life was about. When you got overseas, you just kind of talked about that. Like, there's a variance between like the way life is quote unquote conducted over there versus here in the States, and how fast paced it is, how central people's mindsets can be, how limited of a mindset that they could be. While you were over there, what are some of the variances that you experienced?
So, well, first, shout out to Vanderbilt because my brother went to South Carolina.
Okay.
So,
Gamecock?
Gamecock, yeah. So, SEC in the building.
Yes, sir.
I mean, when you first go over there, it's different than college. And what I mean is, like in college, at least you have your parents there. As far as, especially at that time, this was early 2000. You can phone call, but when you start getting international, I mean, they didn't have apps yet. They didn't have, they didn't have FaceTime, no nothing. So you're looking for, I remember having buying a phone and getting a SIM card and trying to,
calling cards.
Yeah, calling cards. Yeah,
Young generations don't know about that.
Say we're dating ourselves at this point.
Calling cards. I mean, and it was in the international. I mean, this is, $50, $100, and that would last, maybe a night, because
depending on how long you're on the phone.
Yeah, just depending on how long you're on the phone. You're like, oh, you're looking at the time. You're like, when you're talking, you're like, it's like, oh, my man's about to, I gotta go and see you later, bye. But that's when, there is a level of fear there when you go overseas because it's unknown, and like you were saying, there's a perception that the states and Americans give certain countries, and stereotypes and stuff like that.
Right.
And I always use the example is if they would record New York, for example, or South Dallas, and would that be the perception of black men? That's kind of the perception that the states give when you go to these other countries, like, hey, don't go over there because it's dangerous. But then when but there's danger here locally too. You just stay out those areas. So, traveling overseas, it's beautiful. The country is beautiful. The culture, the food, the people, the women, all that's great. It just opens your mind of what their thought process is too. But there is a level of fear there too because it's just unknown. You don't know what you don't know.
What you talked about, or you mentioned fear, and I've asked this question before on several of our podcasts. And when you're talking about fear, you're talking about having a limited mindset versus a limitless mindset. Why do you think people struggle so much with fear?
And this may change, over time. But as of right now, the way I see it, it's being approved by your peers in society and being accepted.
Okay.
So I think, and the fear of, because once you fail, people are waiting for you to fail so they can point to us. See, I told you not to do that shit. It wasn't going to work.
Right.
Or the fear of success. They start seeing that you made it, and all of a sudden, those people, all of a sudden they want to get back in your circle, and they may know that shit you've grown from that period where they know you, and that you're not that same person anymore. So
people don't want to allow you to evolve.
Yeah, it's that crab bucket effect where people are trying to always bring you down. Yeah.
Crabs in a bucket.
Yeah. So I think that's a lot of what holds people back is because especially with social media now.
Yeah.
Excuse me. You hardly ever see people post their failures. They post, they'll post, them like in the cigar lounge, wad of money, we made it, but they're not gonna post those demons that actually help them get them there. You know what I'm saying?
Late at night in the corner, balled up.
Depressed. Going with it with their lady. Having family. Maybe with their parents, with their kids. You just don't know. They're not gonna post that because there's judgment there, and then that judgment creates an opinion of you or of that person, and then all of a sudden, that's that level of fear. So yeah, they're only going to post their success. However, you're going to fail more than you're going to succeed. So you got to celebrate those small success because you're going to fail a lot more than you're going to succeed.
I want to give my partner a big shout out because he actually taught me. He said, "Cuff, we don't fail or we don't lose, we learn." Yeah. And that's been a big deal for us.
We win or we learn. We move. No matter what happens, we're pushing the ball forward. There is no such thing as stopping or going backwards. Like, no, we win or we learn, period. You mentioned the word judgment. And I know we're talking about this whole fear thing of showing your failures and all that. Why is it, and this is to either one of you, why is it that we are, I hate to overuse the word fear, but why is it that we're in fear of being judged? Because me personally, I really don't care what another person thinks of me. Like your judgment of me, based off your perception, if you will, I could literally care less.
Now you may have arrived to that point.
I've been that way for
That's exactly what I was
minute.
thinking.
Right.
I've been that way for a
But
minute.
for a lot of people aren't, right? So it's the judgment factor, right? It's knowing that I put myself out there, to what Jay was saying earlier, and I failed. I didn't achieve whatever I said I was going to do. But ultimately, what I think it really boils down to is I'm looking for external approval versus internal approval, right? Whether it's, hey, I made the shot at the buzzer in a basketball game, or I made an interception, whatever it was, or I didn't, right? I missed that shot. Back in September, October, we had Tex on the show.
Shout out to OG Tex.
Yep. And he talked about how he missed the final shot, or didn't even get an opportunity to take the final shot of a game, right? Like that could be demoralizing and put someone in a depressed state, because there's that expectation from the external, from the outside world, to look at you to have succeeded. And then vice versa to what you were saying, I think people sometimes have fears, because if I do make it, then I'm expected to do it over and over and over again and never let someone down. What do you think about that?
So I believe, like kind of piggyback off you, you have to come in that space, because no matter how much you say you don't care, and I'm not just talking about you personally, but I'm talking about when you say you don't care, you probably don't care now, but there was probably a point in life where it tilted, and you like what like these they're not
Why am I
helping me grow.
Why am I giving
there's no
that
growth.
person so much stock in my life?
Yeah, because in the grand scheme of things, the reason why you don't care is because they're not adding value to your life. Like if you're adding value to other people's life, there's a thing that in my entrepreneurial career where I learned where I have basically two circles. Like I care, the people who I care about, so I pour into them, and the people I don't care about. And the people who don't care about, those are the ones that are judging, hating, having opinions and stuff like that. Like I don't care. I do use that as fuel to like if I get depressed or need motivation or whatever. It's like what are they saying about me now? I was like, oh, okay, let's use that, because everybody needs that internal motivation and stuff like that. But I do use that to fuel, so I can pour back into these people that I care about. Now, when you're talking about hitting the last shot and stuff like that, yes, there are, there's judgment and opinions, but I think, and I learned this from Kobe actually, rest in peace, Kobe. When like if you miss that last shot, it's like it's the same thing like when people think of happily ever after. So when you watch a movie, happily ever after, everybody leaves the theater, oh, it feels good, but nobody talked about the 2 months later when they have a fight, or the car breaks down, or it's cold outside, or whatever. What I'm saying? It's just in their mind happily ever after. But that's the same thing when you miss a shot. If you miss a shot and everybody's like, oh, you missed a shot, but one, you gotta have, you have the balls to take that shot, first of all, what I'm saying? And two, if you missed it, like, so what? Like, is it going to just, are you going to take the next shot? Are you going to take the next shot because that's that experience is that it's going to help you grow.
That's the growth.
Yeah, so you just got to continue to take those shots, and then all of a sudden, because, nobody shoots 100%. Like, Kobe, was, according to the numbers, like the worst, like 26%, but it didn't stop him from shooting those shots, at the end of the game. So you do got to take those shots. You got to take those risks, and you got to know that judgment and opinions coming with it, regardless. You feel me? So that's kind of the mindset I've been in. It's like, if I'm gonna take the shot, whether it's basketball or in life, I know the judgment's coming with it. But back to what you were saying, what am I gonna learn from it? Like if I'm gonna learn something, what experience am I getting out of it? And I just keep on moving forward.
Cuff, I see I see the gears turning in your head, but allow me to say thank you to some of the people who help us out.
Yeah.
And that's Edwina Brown and the family over at Blowing Smoke Cigar Lounge. If you're anywhere on the southern part of DFW, make sure you get to Blowing Smoke Cigar Lounge. The address there, Cuff, is 215 West Camp Wisdom Road in Duncanville, Texas.
Yeah. I want to go back to something that you said. You've got two circles of groups, or two circles of people that you engage with. What happens when the circle of people that are your trusted people, family, close friends, what happens when they start to lose faith or belief in you, or they're the ones that are actually giving you the ridicule? And the reason why I ask that is you'll see a lot of people that understand conceptually, like, hey, I've never met Joe Blow. I can give a damn about what they think about me, right? Or anyone on social media or what have you. But what happens when that person is a family member, a spouse, a sibling,
Somebody in that circle.
someone really close to you?
I mean, to put this, and it's not even politically correct, but to put this, I guess more blunt, I really don't care, because
that ain't what you want to say.
I mean, it's
say what you want to say.
I'm getting into it.
we don't censor anybody on here.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I really don't care, because this is the Vision podcast. So when you have a vision, your family doesn't see or believe sometimes what you see or believe.
Very true.
So it's not that you don't love them less or whatever. You just step away from them and you go down that path, regardless of what they say, and even if they don't understand it. And then you just, come back when you're ready. You can start adding back into their life when you're ready. So, because, rather it's, my brothers, my sisters, my parents, they man, Jay, you're really stubborn. But I don't think they understand. Nobody sees what's up in here.
They weren't gifted that gift from God to you to have whatever vision it is that you want manifested. So it's not on them.
Well, I think they try, with parents, for example, they when you have kids, I don't have kids. I know you guys have kids, stuff like that. So there's a vision that you have for your kids and what is it that you want them to do. However, they may have a different vision, and there's parents who are like, no, I want you to do this because this is the vision I have for you. And I think it's hard for parents sometimes to let go and be like, okay, because this is who I am, this is who you are. Let's go out there and make those mistakes. Go out there and get that experience, and then don't worry. I'm gonna prepare you for life. I'm gonna protect you because I feel that's my job. But go out there and feel who you are, because I do that with a lot of my kids in the basketball program. I want to see who they are, so I'll let them go out there and make the mistakes. But then, every time they miss a shot, they're looking over their shoulder. I'm like, what the hell are you looking at? You know what I'm saying? Nobody shoots 100%. They turn the ball over. I was like, everybody turns the ball over. Keep on playing. And then at the end of practice, I use those same principles and concepts, but that's what's going to happen in life. When you start getting jobs, you're going to miss. You're going to be late. You're going to miss appointments. You're going to miss deadlines. How are you going to handle it? So that's why with my parents or my brothers and sisters, and they know that about me now. Now, in the beginning, they were like, what the hell's wrong? What the hell's wrong with you? But now that they know that, they're like, okay, let me just let Jay do his thing, and he'll come back when he's ready.
Are parents or guardians too soft on their kids now?
Yes.
I just feel like, we both have very young kids, and I also have an 11-year-old. But I feel like generationally, I'm sure every generation says this, right?
Of course, I'm going to say it. I'm going to call that.
Let's not turn into get off my lawn.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
the
old people. Yeah.
Back in '85, I walked through the snow with one leg.
That's what I'm saying. Hopping, no shoes.
But I feel like we coddle and protect our young kids and young adults too much, and it's making society a lot more soft. And you kind of alluded to it. What are some of the things that you do, whether obviously you don't have kids, but from a mentor aspect on how to get our next generation a little bit more strong and have a little bit more mental fortitude?
Well, and like I said, my perception may change when I have kids, but one of the things you just said is like you protect them, and like I said, I think that's your job to protect your kids. But is that preparing them? Because when they're about to go out for, like when you're saying yes to everything they do, when they go for those job interviews, are they gonna get yes every single time? You know, when you're going like hey, let's stop at McDonald's, or hey, let's stop at fast food, and they're saying yes. You know, are they gonna, you know, when they get in a relationship with a girlfriend or something like that, are they gonna be, you know, are they gonna be able to say yes to everything? Like, because it's, you know, it's a relationship, you know, and you got to treat it as a relationship, in my opinion. But this is coming from somebody who doesn't have kids. So people who are always like, oh, well, you don't have kids, you don't have, understand what you're saying. But that's what I'm saying. But so yes, and that's what I try to explain. It's like, you know, I don't have to have kids. It's the same thing. Like, I don't have to play football to know, like, you know, where I can, like, okay, I know how to read defenses, or I know what they're doing on this play and stuff like that. Because if you study the game long enough, then you'll start to pick up stuff. So if you are around kids and you see their behavior, like, for example, with school, I mean, I think school, and I was talking to Adam about this, but I think school, you know, they're trying to teach everybody the same way. I think school is a great place to get education, but it's not preparing you for life. And I think that's hindering the kids, because like, if you learn a certain way and you learn a certain way, but I'm teaching you guys the same way, and you're like, oh, and you get A's and you get F's. You know, as a teacher, I'm telling you that you're a bad student, but you're not learning the same way he's learning. So that's what I'm saying. So that's where that preparation comes in, because I'm not preparing you. I'm not taking the time to actually, whether it's 2 kids or 30 kids, I got to take the time and be like, okay, you know, which way do you learn? How do you engage? How can I engage so that you can get the best out? Because if I don't like chemistry, but I love math, and I don't understand, you know, but the teacher doesn't understand that, they're just like, oh yeah, you're terrible you're terrible in school because you don't want to do your work. It's like, no, I just don't like chemistry. You know, like I don't want to do it. I have zero interest in that. Why do I need to learn that? Yeah. So that's that's why I think, you know, with the parents thing stuff, it's the same kind of scenario. It's like, you know, because I was talking to my parents about this. It's like, you know, you raise us all the same, but we're different. Yeah, we're all different. So you have to have that same mindset when you're raising your kids, because it's easy to kind of like raise them all the same.
Right, and I think that the school system at large, and not every school, not every teacher, but obviously it's set up in a traditional or conventional way, right? It's designed for education, but not for learning, and I think that's the biggest difference.
Well, so what do you mean by that? Education and not learning?
Well, it's teaching to a test, right? Versus, hey, learning is you being out and actually experiencing what it means to actually, for example, you know, we've got definition cigars, right? And they know based off of certain ingredients, this is how you make a blend work the way that it needs to work, right? Like, that's learning how to work through that process, learning how to start a business or what have you. Those are life lessons that you learn, versus in education, I may talk to you about these are what the ingredients are and you know what they are. Yeah. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
You mentioned them, Cuff. I'm going to go ahead and say thank you to them. The good guys at Definition Cigars. Jamon, I have a hold of the Conception.
Yes.
Cuff's personal favorite from the line Definition Cigars. Visionaries and anybody else out there listening or watching the show, they're easy to find at Definition Cigars on Instagram. The website is Definition Cigars. The entire crew, thank you guys so much for your support. We definitely look forward to working with you guys on bigger things down the road for sure.
I want to get into something real quick. You mentioned vision. You know, how does one develop a vision for their life?
So I think as a kid, you know what your vision is. Okay. I think when you start looking for that acceptance and approval, that's when it gets contaminated.
That's a good word, contaminated. I like that.
Yeah. So because I remember, you know, like for example, just me playing overseas, I remember like, man, you know, I want to travel the world. I had no idea how I was going to do it, but I seen me in all these different places, and I seen, you know, me interacting communicating with all these different people. But at the time, like, there's like you're here in, Garland, Texas. Why are you talking about going to, the Philippines, or you're talking about going to China or Australia? Like, no, it was like, no, but they were putting their projections on me. But I do think, whatever's in your mind, you can manifest it. And the best way I've learned is, just start writing those thoughts down. Write them down. And when, it's like in the, what's that? The Secret, I think it was called? Yeah.
The Secret.
Yeah, thoughts become things. But I think once you write it, then that's when you're telling the universe that you're for real.
It becomes tangible.
Yeah. I remember the Philippines. I wrote that down. I was like, man, I have no idea how I'm going to get in the Philippines. I just want to go there. And I ended up going there, meeting Manny Pacquiao, was at his house, was at his crib, and everything was on his team. No idea how I was going to get there. But I wrote it down, and I think it was either 3 or 5 years later when it actually manifested. But that's just the power of just writing it down. Like, you don't need to know the path. You just write it down.
So let me ask you something. As we said in the intro, you had a nice long career playing basketball overseas in multiple countries. At some point, obviously, you want to play in the NBA, and then at some point, you had to come to the realization, like, okay, this is probably not going to work out in regards to playing in the NBA. But you had the emotional maturity to be like, okay, I might not be able to play in the NBA, but I can still play the game I love. I'm just going to go somewhere different. What was your fork in the road moment where you're like, all right, the NBA is probably not going to happen, but I'm not going to stop? Because sometimes people's original plan doesn't work out and they get stuck. They stop. They can't adjust with the things that life throws at them. But somewhere along the line, you were able to do that. Can you talk me through that process a little bit?
So I remember my brother, shout out to my brother Chris, he'll probably watch this. He had great aspirations to play in the NBA. My aspirations was to be an Olympic athlete. That's what I really wanted to do. And again, I didn't know how I was going to do that. But to answer your question, because it was a mindset thing, because it was probably when I was I guess 27, 28, when the game was slowing down, I was at my athletic peak, and I was like, man, I really can, I think I could play in the league. I just know that they're not looking for, if you look at the NBA now, Giannis, 25, Devin Booker, 22, Jamal Murray, so it's a young man's league, and then next year they're having, Zion 19,
right.
So
John Moran,
yeah,
and so forth.
Yeah, so they have, so there's an age right there because they get them that young because they want to develop them till about when they're about 25, 26, 27, that they're at their peak, and then that's when they can grow the league and stuff like that. So when I was 27, 28, I was like, man, I know I could really play in the league, and this is how I found out. I started training with a lot of the NBA guys. So I was going to Louisville and Kentucky, shout out to Nazi Muhammad, Rajon Rondo, and they would have these pickup games. And they would always have these pickup games throughout the week. And, Nazi would always invite me out. He's like, hey, Jay, we're hooping, come on out. And there'd be all these NBA guys, and they would see me play, and they'd be like, hey, guard, they didn't know me because I wasn't from Louisville. Like, hey, guard that guy, he can play. People were just shrugging their shoulders like they didn't know me. And then when I start, getting buckets, when I start getting buckets,
start hitting people over the head a little bit,
and they're like, okay, this guy can play a little bit. But that's when I was like, I wish I would pursue the NBA earlier, because like me going to a smaller school, it was in my mind, like, they don't respect small schools, but I see a lot of people coming from, Jimmy Butler came from a junior college. So there was a path there. I had them talking about that closed mindset. It was just, I was listening to too many people instead of listening to myself and be like, hey, if I really wanted to put my mind to this, I could have made it, I could have created it. I just didn't create it at that time because I was in the proper mindset to create it, if that makes sense.
All right, so, you had this closed mindset kind of coming from a smaller school, and you look back now and you say, I probably could have gone a little bit harder. But there had to be some type of shift mentally as you matured, right? Where you said, I'm going to invest in myself, right? Can you talk to us and our visionaries that are both watching on YouTube and listening here on the podcast? What does it take to actually invest in yourself? What we call it is getting into the lab, which is why we're called the Vision Lab podcast. But like, what did that process look like, or how do you invest in your own self?
So I guess to backtrack, it's not that I didn't have to work harder. It just my mindset was different, meaning I was listening to people who don't know or haven't walked that path. And since they didn't walk that path, how are they going to tell me how to get there? Because it's taking risk,
Right.
which is kind of what you're talking about when you invest in yourself. Because I think when you invest in yourself, like they're talking about learning and losing, you can never lose investing in yourself. Never. Like there was a mentor of mine who said, rule number 1, invest in yourself. Rule number 2, look at rule number 1.
That's good.
And investing in yourself, whether it's money, whether it's time, you'll never lose because there's going to be rather you invest your money, there is experience, there is resources, there's data that you're going to get from that when you do it again, you'll know how to adjust if you're about evolving, if you're about change, if you're about growth. But if you're investing in yourself and you look like, man, I spent $1,000, I didn't get anything back. Well, what is it that you spent that $1,000 on, and what is it that you were looking to get back? Because whether it's in business, or basketball, like even like going to camps, because that was one thing to double back on what you're saying. I remember going to after college, and I knew I wanted to play. I didn't want my basketball career to be over, so I just went to family and friends and just started asking for money because I was like, I just seen these camps. I was like, let me see what these camps are about.
Yeah.
Did any of those camps give me a job? No. Sorry, camps. I can't shout out to you. Can't shout out to you. But that's the thing. Like, and I hear, players all the time like, yeah, I went to this camp and it was just a money grab and this and that. I said, okay, but what is it that you learned from it? And they won't go to the next camp because they felt like the other one was a money grab. So I would say 1, those camps probably need to step their game up. But 2, like if you want that, whether it's basketball, whether it's entrepreneurship, if you want it bad enough, like you have to invest. You got to continue investing until you get the result that you're looking for, whether it's time or money. Because there's plenty of resources out there. It's just what is it that you value? I mean, but you got to continue to invest in yourself, like continuously. Like it's an ongoing process.
We were talking about investing in ourselves, both as individuals and just as a whole for all those listening. Cup, one of the groups that has invested in us as well as invested in their own product line is the good people at Class A Vodka. Crystal and Tim, thank you guys so much for all of your support. Ladies and gentlemen, get your hands on a bottle of Class A Vodka. The slogan is class in every glass. We promise you will not be disappointed. You can find them on Instagram at Class A Vodka. It's KLASE.
Yeah, outstanding product. So we'll have to have a beverage or two at some point next year, in 2021. And, sit back and relax and have a couple of sticks. How do you define success?
So I think, I guess that's a great question because are you talking about success as in business or success in your family or success as...
An open-ended question.
Yeah, I can see that.
We like to ask tough questions here in the lab.
Yeah. It just, I would say success will equal to your happiness. So, as long as you're happy, because, in the past, I said past last 2 years, I've lost, when I was growing up, my uncle had passed away from AIDS, and this was like in '95 or something like that, and I didn't understand it back then, Now, the last 2 years I've had, 2 close people have passed away in my life, and there's a morality that kicked in for me,
right.
Like, oh shit, because these people were there when I was young, like even when my uncle passed away, these people were here, and now they're not, and so there's a morality kick in, like, oh shit, like, like our time is, it's limited here, like we take advantage of it, but it's limited here, so knowing that can get taken away from you at any time, I plug into happiness. Because if you plug into happiness, when people say money can't buy happiness, that shit's true. Because you can have all the money in the world and then bam, maybe your parents are gone, or knock on wood, your kids go before you or something like that. I mean, that shit will shift your life. See what I'm saying? But if you're plugged into happiness and you understand that that can happen at any time, then you start to be more grateful. You start have more gratitude of the small things, and then the other success stuff will you'll see the success differently than rather than Bentleys and Rolls Royces and $1 million mansions and stuff like that.
For sure.
What does happiness look like to you, Jay Warren?
Like this. I mean, it's just like this. I mean, just being able to do what I want when I want. Like if I want to pick up and bounce and go, well, I guess we're locked down now, but depending on the country, but again, being able to just get up and like, hey, let's go to Vegas, or hey, let's go to the Philippines, or I mean that's it's not just freedom, but it's happiness, because it's a choice. And the thing is, like, I think I try to help people this, because going back to earlier when you talk about traveling and stuff, I think that is available and abundant to everybody. It's just what are you going to do to actually create that for yourself? Because you can. There was I forgot the book I was reading, but they were saying, like, if you wanted to, you can own a Bentley. I think Bentleys run $1,500 a month or something like that, maybe $2,000 a month. And they said, all you gotta do is, basically get rid of your house. Now, as a business person, I would highly suggest not to do it. However, but they're saying, like, you can own a Bentley. It's a $300,000 car. You can own a Bentley and not have a house and pay $2,000 a month for it. So you can own it if you really, really wanted to. Right. It's just the point: do you want to or not? You see what I'm saying? So, but yeah, this is what happiness looks like. Just being able to. There's a certain level, and it's not just like financial freedom. It's just freedom and to be able to have choices.
It's peace of mind.
Yeah, exactly.
I've heard several times, obviously, we love the growth mindset backdrop, right? It's the platform to the show. I've heard you talk about books. I've heard you talk about writing things down. I'm curious, do you do any affirmations?
Yes, absolutely.
Can you share?
Is there a way we can plug them in later on what's this called, like on your podcast or whatever? Because the thing is, I have them written down, and I have them. It's like they're my. So when I wake up in the morning, there's 30 of them that I wrote down. Okay. And I learned this from one of my mentors. I've been following him online forever, and I got to meet him. And there's 3 different ways that he actually does affirmations. But he does it in a way. It's not affirmations, it's afformations. Okay. And afformations is, so the way your brain works, it's programmed to answer questions. So instead of getting up and saying, I'm wealthy, I'm rich, I have a lot of money, you put it in a question for, why am I wealthy? Why am I rich? And then what ends up happening in your brain is that it's a problem solver. Your brain's a problem solver. So it starts answering those questions, and then that's when it helps you manifest a little faster.
So, and I've heard, because I've been doing affirmations since 2015-ish, 2016, somewhere in there. And I started writing them out. I will make $10 today, or $100 or whatever it was, right? Yeah. And then one of my mentors said, no, you need to put it in past tense. I'm so grateful that I made $10 or $100 or whatever it is, because it's saying that you've already done it. But it's similar to what you're saying is, and you asking in a question form, why am I so grateful that I made $10? Because it makes it into an actual, tangible thing. So I love that.
Yeah, just one more thing on that, because if you ever think about it, so. And I remember when I was in school, this happened, but this happens, in my business too, where I go to sleep and I ask myself, like how in the hell am I going to be able to help that client? I go to sleep and I wake up the next morning and I have the answer. And that's why, so like you're asking yourself that question. So that's why, I haven't thought about the past tense stuff like that, and the only reason why is because, I think a lot of people are living in the past, so there's like a vacuum. So when you talk about vision and stuff, like depending on where you put your energy, it's like a vacuum. So if you talk about a lot of stuff in the past, it pulls you back, and that's where we're kind of scared of the unknown and stuff like that, where you start asking that question, and it pulls you to the future, and you start manifesting what it actually want. That's just my opinion. That's how it's been working for me.
Sure.
However, I may try that and just to say get some results. Just because I do want to know both, because maybe if it's work for that mentor, then obviously there's some success there too.
So you've got the network marketing side of things that you got your hands in, and you also got the skills training academy. If you can I use the word academy?
Yeah.
What is the number one thing that you have learned from your experiences as a basketball player traveling overseas that you try to impart on every kid you work with?
It's
from a mental standpoint. I mean, obviously, how to dribble, jump shot, all that stuff. But from mentality, because like you told us before we started filming, basketball is a mental game way more than it's a physical game on the highest level. So what do you try to impart on those kids from a mental standpoint?
That how you do anything is how you do everything. So if if you come to practice and you're half-assed in practice, so I'm not a type of coach, and maybe this is bad promotion, but I mean it might be, I don't know, because I'm not, there's coaches who are going to be yelling at you, saying you need to do this better, you need to do that better. I'm a type of coach that's going to watch your work ethic and then ask you, like, maybe basketball's not for you. Like maybe there's something that you not want to do, because if you're not doing this work ethic, it's the same thing in network marketing, where people say they want to sign up, they want to create change their life, and it's like, okay, how many people you talk to today? How many people you prospect? Like 0. It's like maybe this is not the business for you. However,
and there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that. Maybe you just need to go back to being an employee, because maybe that's your calling. You're like, I don't know. The reason why I hire coaches and mentors is because I need that third party person. I hold myself accountable, but there's levels to this, and if I'm not at that level, and that coach just hold me accountable to that level, then that's why I'm going to hire that person for it. But some people don't. Going back to like the failure and stuff like that, some people, they want the shine, but they don't want the grind. So when I ask that question, maybe this ain't for you. It kind of throws them off. It's like, wait, aren't you supposed to be yelling at me? It's like, no. I mean, if
you show me what your level of dedication is by what we watch.
Well, why? Like it's it goes back to that the care and don't care. It's like I'll pour everything. It's the energy level. So if your energy level is there, yes, I'm gonna give more. I'm always gonna give more than the other person. But if your energy level isn't there, I'm not gonna drain myself because you don't want it. It doesn't. To me, in my mind, it doesn't make any sense. Like it doesn't make sense that find out what it is that you want, and then if this is what you want, then come on back. But if it's not, then especially with the kids, even when business owners or small businesses, startups, go out there. Even if you're, there's people in their 30s and 40s like, I'm stuck in this job. It's like, no, that shit ain't too late. Yeah, you got 40 years left. You plan on living till 45 or something? Like you can live till you're 80, 90. With technology, they say people are gonna be living to 150 now. Shit, I don't know. I ain't a scientist. Fuck, I don't know, but but there's times out there. It's just, but you do have to, if you invest in yourself and you believe in yourself, you'll take the risk, and then I think there's that excuse versus results thing. I can't do it because my kids, or I can't do it because I'm taking care of my parents, or I can't do it because this is like, no, just set your mind to it. It doesn't, and going back to what I was saying about, the learned behavior, somebody might learn it faster than you. Somebody may take a year to learn it. You may take 5 years to learn it, but is that worth your dream? But that's up to you. That's a question you got to ask yourself.
Yeah. Speaking of dreams, and a group that is not afraid to put in the grind to get the shine, and that's Dallas Leaf Cigars LLC. Right now, I'm smoking on the
Bishop,
the 1841 DL Bishop. Outstanding cigar, very, very good. Shout out to the entire crew over at Dallas Leaf LLC. Make sure you guys follow them on Instagram as well as check out their website, Dallas Leaf LLC. All right. And I love what you're saying. I love that heat. I love the passion that you're bringing. Let's switch gears a little bit because you kind of mentioned network marketing and you're coaching people, et cetera. What does that look like for Jay Warren? Talk to us about, what's your business in terms of network marketing? Because I think there's a lot of misnomers that are out there that network marketing is nothing more than a pyramid scheme or MLM.
What is an MLM?
But it has a negative connotation oftentimes to it.
Well, it's just so people aren't against network marketing; they're against network marketers, and it's basically the way it's pitched. Actually, before you guys got in here, we were shooting some videos, and network marketing it's a lifestyle. It's a vehicle. It's something that's going to get you to where it is that you want to be. The reason why it's negative, but everything's negative. Like any business that you start, even when I started my basketball business, I don't go around the Metroplex and tell people I played overseas, I did this, I was guard of the year. Like I don't go around and do, because I focus on helping people. So the same thing I do, my approach with network marketing, I ask them questions, I prospect them, one, are you open to making some money? Usually 95% people say yes, or what is it that you're, and then I ask them questions to see if, we even fit to work together. And with network marketing, that's where, because everybody's trying to get everybody, like, oh yeah, whether it's, a skincare or health and wellness, or coffee, travel, yeah, you need this. It's like, no, you have to craft it in a way to make it, how's it going to benefit them? And because it's not a job, who's it that you want to work with? Like, who's it that, you see on your team that we can have conversations like this and you have fun and you're making money? Because at jobs, people are making six figures and they hate that shit. They're like, oh my gosh.
Ready to shoot somebody.
Yeah. It's like, oh, this person. Yeah, exactly. So you just, it's just one of them things. Like when you start a company and you start a business, the great thing about it and the benefit about it is that you can actually choose who it is that you want to work with. So, you don't have to go into this great salesman, car salesman. Shout out to all the car salesmen out there. But you don't got to go into a pitch like that because you don't want them to have buyer's remorse. But what you're doing is you're creating a business and you're creating a community and you're creating a culture and you're training them about duplication and you're training that is, it's not perfect. It's just better. That I got that from Eric Worre. Like network marketing, it's not perfect. Like there's no perfect business out there, but it's better. And if you can create that community and that training of people who you want to work with and who have that vision, who see themselves. One of the questions I always ask, like, where do you see yourself on a Tuesday at 11:30? 5 years from now. 95% of people can't answer that because they haven't crafted that vision for themselves. Do they see that with their, playing with their kids?
I love that question too, by the way.
I'm writing that right.
Where do you see yourself 5 years from now on Tuesday at 11:30?
Tuesday, 5 years from now at 11:30.
Because if you have the answer to that, then I think your vision starts to become more clear. And then when you're doing the work to actually build a network marketing business, then those no's and those pyramid schemes and all those objections that you get, like they roll off your back because you have posture. There's another thing, I'm quoting a lot of my mentors say, like people ask like, how does electricity work? People have no idea,
No one cares.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. But when it's dark, what they do, they go turn on the light. Right. It's the same thing with network marketing. Like, a lot of people don't know how it works, but it works because all you have to do, like once you do work, and you create that passive residual income, you have money coming in from the work that you did, a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, if you're consistent. So,
how long have you been involved in network marketing?
2012.
You're professional at this point in the game.
Yeah, there's a lot of struggles at the beginning.
As is anything. Right?
Yeah. I mean, and you go in there. I mean, the way you train matters. But I think like we were saying earlier, like those failures, you need to experience those. So like you don't want it to be a hype game, meaning like, hey, in 90 days you're gonna be able to quit your job, blah blah blah, just invest. There's one thing I did on my blog post where I was talking about affiliate marketing versus network marketing, and affiliate marketing is more focused on sales. So, and I always suggest a lot of network marketers to start with affiliate marketing because you can make a sale to basically keep your business afloat. But network marketing is that's when you're building leaders. So you go into teach mode, you're going into training mode. So when you recruit somebody, that's when your job starts. And affiliate marketing, once you make your sale, your job is done.
Strictly transactional.
Yeah, yes, it's all transactional. You're done with it. You want this to help you build your business. Here it is, boom, boom, boom. But if you want to be network marketing, then I'm going to teach you, I'm going to train you, and I'm going to teach you duplication on how it is, so you can create that passive and residual income.
I love that you keep talking about having a mentor, and it's something that I truly believe in. And you've given the quasi shout out to your mentor repeatedly. Can you talk about the impact of having a mentor and what that's been able to do in terms of shaping your life and your future?
Well, I think it goes back to the investing in yourself part. I think, and not just think, but I just believe. I look at all the successful people that people glow about, like whether celebrities or whatever. They all have mentors. And
Everybody's learning from somebody.
Yeah. So I mean, they're just standing on the shoulders of giants. So, like going back to school, and we talk about going back to school, you get in trouble for copying. You're over here looking at the paper. Hey, what you got over there? Oh no, you get it. F, timeout, whatever the punishment is. But
Time out. What schools you go to?
we're in the north. There was no timeout. There was no timeout at Lakeview. I'm trying to speak to the younger generation right now. But with business, they just teach, hey, just duplicate what it is, or copy this, copy this, duplicate this, and you will have success. And that's why I think the disconnect with school and actually business, because there's no wealth classes or anything like that in business. There's no money management or anything like that in school. I said in business, but in school, like they don't teach none of that stuff in school. Like you have to go outside of school, or people who have created schools, and then when you go to events, I've hosted events where I teach that, and and I charge for them, but there's some people like, well, I got to charge for this. I can go to YouTube. Like, all right, shit, go to YouTube. That's what it's there for, But you don't get the hands-on, you don't get the interaction, and you don't get the energy and the vibe. But those events are powerful in a way where it's education, you're learning, and those mentors that are on the stage, and those mentors that you connect with, and those people that you connect with, it's helping you grow to that person that you want to become.
You've thrown out a lot of nuggets, a lot of gems throughout this episode.
I talk too much. I'm sorry, fellas.
This
I'm sorry, fellas. Oh, okay.
No apologies at all, man. I think it's absolutely dope. A lot of our visionaries that tune in around the globe at this point, we've been very fortunate. Will hear you and hear this episode and really start to get in their own labs and think about ways that they can transition out of their corporate role or whatever it is. What advice would you give someone that wants to manifest their dreams into a reality?
So first I would say, create a vision board. Like that shit works. Like it may sound corny, but that shit works. And then invest in yourself. Like you have to invest in yourself continuously. Like that will never ever go away. And then on that, I think you'll figure out what it is that you want to do, and try shit. Like even if there's businesses that I've tried and failed in, and I was like, that shit ain't for me. But that's part of the process because you're trying to figure that shit out.
Right, and it's never too late.
It's never too late. It's never too late. And this is one of the quotes I had. I said it's like, especially during the pandemic, I said if you Like the best time to start a business was yesterday. The second time best is right now. Like it's like you're lazy if because if time was an issue during that time, then it wasn't because you never had time. It's just because you didn't have discipline, you were lazy, you didn't have a vision. Right. So you needed that vision to push you forward. You need that. And when that time got pushed away, when people were on furlough, when people were getting laid off and all that stuff, boom, that was the time for you to move forward.
Yeah, we said during the pandemic, hey, if you're not capitalizing on this, and I always equated it as a man of faith. God said, hey, look, we need a 20-second or a full timeout.
Yeah,
right? Everybody just go back to your benches. Yeah. Go back to your benches. Let's talk about it. And if you didn't come out of the pandemic better than you went in, that's 100% on you. And so, we got in the lab and we started some things, and to your point, and we learned. We had a big lesson with YouTube, and so we're back on YouTube. Shout out to you for that. And so we'll continue to press forward, but that's where you got to get in your lab. You got to learn, from your mistakes, failures, whatever you want to call them, and continue to strive and continue to press forward, because that's how you ultimately grow, and that's how ultimately you become a better version of yourself.
So we have reached the point of this interview where we're open up things, have a little fun. It's time to land the plane with the good folks at Grand Brûlot Cognac.
Yes.
Shout out to Jameson and the entire crew of the experienced brokers.
Big ups. There you go, Jay Warren.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, one of our newest partnerships, Grand Brûlot Cognac. Obviously, those of you who caught the episode with Jameson a few weeks ago, get your hands on a bottle. If you got any questions, ask us. We'll get you taken care of.
There we go. And I'll leave a little bit in there. Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers. Salute.
Absolutely.
Now you just want to sip this, okay?
Yeah, we're not throwing it back.
No. I know. I'll drink cognac.
Yes, sir.
Great product.
Man. So, kind of want to open it up, man, and have some fun. How long have you, been smoking cigars?
So I would say when I was playing in the Dominican and Puerto Rico is when I start, I guess, messing around with it, just kind of tasting. But then when I retire, that's when I start trying, a little bit more frequently.
Yeah. You started in a hell of a place.
Well, I think that's the best. I think that's the best place to start. When in Rome, do as.
Right. Yeah. So, one of the things that we ask everybody who's been on the show, it's you at a round table. There are 5 other seats. Who are the 5 other people you want at your table? The only stipulation is that you can't have whatever higher power you believe in, sir.
Okay, you mean like God or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Who would want to talk to whoever it is they believe in, right?
Okay. I would definitely say Jordan. Michael Jordan would be one.
And by the way, dead or alive?
Okay, dead or alive.
Yeah. So now we just open it up.
Yeah. Well, Steve Jobs was gonna be my second.
Okay.
Steve Jobs would definitely be my second. Tupac would probably be one. Man, there's so many now. I'm just opening up.
Yeah.
Because maybe I'd take Tupac away and bring Jay-Z in, since I don't know. Because Jay-Z,
we'll give you a 6, man. So you got Jobs and Michael Jordan and some type of combo of Pac and Jay-Z.
Yeah, and then maybe Warren Buffett because of his discipline, and then
so methodical.
Yeah, and then I would say either Bezos or Elon Musk. And it's funny saying that because if you asked me this question 10 years ago, it would have been probably like Walter Payton. It would have been like mostly athletes. I'd say 10 years ago, probably about 15 years ago. But now, there's minds out there. Yeah, maybe even Gandhi.
Man, you can't have a.
Sorry. Yeah.
Basketball players.
Yeah, I know. I got. No, that's what I'm saying. We got. You know, we.
trying to find a whole
You want to
bench.
start in 5 or do you want the whole roster? You know, Gandhi. You know, I'm like, geez. I mean, Nelson Mandela. You know.
Yeah, see there. Look at him. Look at him.
So speaking of
Or even
athletes,
shit, even Will Smith.
Hey, now, you know.
Okay, I'm done. All right, Will Smith was the last one. All
No
right.
entanglements.
There you
Right,
go.
right,
There you
absolutely.
go.
Speaking of athletes, your basketball experience. Who's the best basketball player you ever on the court with?
I would say the best one would probably be Ginobili. And so when I was in Argentina, I remember, and this is right after they won the Olympics. So this was 2004 when they won the Olympics. So I went basically that following season. And so since Argentina had won, so their ego, all their players' ego was on high. But I remember being interviewed. I was being interviewed in Spanish too, and they were asking me like who do you think the best player in Argentina is? And I was like, hands down. And this is before I played Luis Scola, but I said hands down Ginobili, and they asked me why. And I was like, well, the dude's a winner. He's won at every level, And at that time, he had won everything. So he had won when he was in Argentina. He had won when he was in Italy. He had just came off that Olympic run, and he had won the NBA Finals. And I was like, the dude's a winner. And like us as athletes, we have egos.
Right.
But there was I don't know, like winning. There's so there's like a Kobe mentality where, it's like you want to win so much, but like Kobe worked hard and he was like, it's winning but it's because of me. That's kind of the vibe, that mentality. Like he just wanted to kill everybody. But Ginobili was more like, he wanted everybody to, there's more of an inclusion. But yeah, he was one of the smartest basketball players I had played against.
If Jay Warren were a book, what would be the name of your book? What's the title of the book?
So I am writing a book right now. It's kind of ironic, and it's called Fast. It's called I think I'm gonna call it Fast Break Transition, and it's basically the basis of from sports to entrepreneurship. So
when's it coming out? Do you have an idea?
Drop earlier 2021.
Well, hopefully we see that next month, maybe February or so.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Well, we definitely want to get a copy and we'll buy one. Want to support that.
Appreciate it.
I'm going to steal one of your questions because it goes along the lines of what I normally ask anyways, but I'm going to steal yours. 5 years from now, on a Wednesday.
On Wednesday to Tuesday, okay.
Okay. Yeah, because at Tuesday at 11:30, I know what you're going to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be listening to an episode of the Vision Lab podcast.
Absolutely.
But
where I'm going to be, you don't know.
Right. So 5 years from now, on Wednesday at 11:30, where are you going to be and what are you doing?
I'll probably be knocking something off my bucket list. And so for my 40th, I went skydiving. This past year, I wanted to go shark diving. Taj Mahal is definitely on my list. I want to swim in the Great Reef in Australia. So
You got a death wish? I mean, you want to be around all the dangerous animals.
You mentioned you mentioned something earlier about fear. And there's one thing that I just can't stand is being afraid. So it's one of the things I just I'm trying to cleanse my fear. Like I just don't like being afraid of anything. So then that's why I probably would have maybe I knock somebody off and put Will Smith because I actually stole that from him. He said he wants to cleanse his aura of fear, and I was like, that is brilliant because but I think that's how you do it. There's when you talk about death, I think like going back to what I was saying about the morality thing, it's like when you know that you're mortal, then you start looking at things differently, and that bucket list that me personally that I have, let's knock some of that stuff off. Let's get the experience.
And the task or the event or whatever doesn't seem as daunting anymore.
No.
Right? Because you realize that we're a small piece in this entire gigantic puzzle. So I absolutely love that. In case you didn't know, we have a magical time machine here in the Vision Lab.
I wouldn't doubt that.
Yeah, we do. So, what would today's version of Jay Warren, what advice would he be giving himself from 5 years ago?
Like, be you, be who you are, and have no shame about it. There's a lot of things that I tell people now, like, if you're an asshole, like, fucking go, 1,000 on that. Like, be who you are. Like, just own that shit. Like, be who you are. Like, whatever it is in your DNA, whatever it is that's in your heart, and whatever it is who you are and who you want to become, just triple down, 10 times down on that shit. Like, be who you are, because what ends up happening, and this has happened in my life, is that the people who don't approve or accept you, they will fade out. Yep. However, the people who, you start attracting the people who you are. So if when you were asking me about the, well, I guess you weren't asking me about that, but when we talk about a product or environment, I think we're talking that off camera. Yeah. Like, if you want to be, a millionaire or a billionaire, just start hanging with them, or if you want to be a basketball player, get in that network. Or if you want to do a podcast, or you want to be around visionaries, get around those people, and that's who you will become.
Yep. What's the saying? You're the sum of your 5 closest friends.
Yep.
Or 5 closest people.
Yep.
I think that's a Jim Rome quote. Yeah.
Shout out to Jim Rome.
Mm-hmm.
He may be at the table too.
He wants a whole team. He wants 5 on 5 and reserves come off.
Yep. I'm coaching both teams.
Yeah.
Are they coaching me?
Now let's fast forward the clock. We know what you're going to be doing in 5 years. You'll be knocking things off your bucket list. What advice is that version of Jay Warren? What advice is he giving you today?
So I would say there's questions that I don't know what to ask yet to myself, but I want the answers. So I would really want to know what questions to ask so I can go and find those answers, if that makes sense.
For sure.
Does it make sense? Okay.
Sure.
For those listening who are, obviously been introduced to you through us for the first time, what are your social media handles? How can people get a hold of you?
Okay, so it's let's do I got so many. So if you want,
All of them. That's all I ask.
put all of them. Okay. So and we'll just edit it later. So there's at Ask Jay Warren. You can follow me on Twitter, Facebook. Facebook is Jay Warren page, but it's Ask Jay Warren.
And that's Jay.
Jay, yeah. Ask ASK Jay Warren, JayWarren. You can hit me up on all those social media platforms, and you can get at me. Cut, boom, and then if you want to hit me up, if you want to talk sports, it's at Jamar Warren, JamahRWarren, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. You can hit me up on that.
Beautiful. To all of our visionaries worldwide tuning in, thank you again for allowing us into your home, whether you're in your car, your home, at work, wherever you're listening to us on any streaming platform. We certainly appreciate it. We're very grateful for that. And if you like the content that you've heard, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe and follow the Vision Lab podcast. Remember, each and every week, we're going to have fantastic guests like Jay Warren here in the lab, dropping nuggets of wisdom and leaving ultimately on the trail of life opportunities for you to pick them up. It's up to you, visionaries, to pick them up.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ryan Mosley. He is Ryan Cuffey. Thank you again to our guest, Jay Warren. Thank you again to George and Yvette here at Cigar Palace in Allen, Texas. We appreciate you guys letting us come in and work. Ladies and gentlemen, we will see you guys next week on another great episode of the Vision Life Podcast.